You are back in the shop with me today, guys, and this week on the channel, I want to go over my table saw setup and how I added an inexpensive router table to the end of it, making two tools in one spot in a small footprint. Stick around. I'm Stoner Ericson from Ericson Design Company, and let's build something. Ta-da! So let me start off by saying this table saw and router table is the centerpiece of my shop. It is a Delta table saw from Lowe's that my brother actually gave to me. He gave it to me because it was out in the rain for 3 years. It was all beat up. It took me a little bit, but I cleaned it up. I got some new screws for it, and this was the first piece of equipment that I got for this shop. Prior to this, none of this was here. So this inspired me to build this wood shop in 2020. Now on the end here, this was just a blank space. And I went online, I went on YouTube, and I tried to find router tables to put in the end of this or something to put over here, because everything in my shop has to serve two purposes. My flip top table is a drill press, a bandsaw hanging upside down that flips upside down, sander, planer. So because I'm in a 2-car garage, I need to maximize the space and then pull out what I need to use out here. Even my X-Carve, I've actually have it fold down and it saves about 26 inches off of that. Now I went online to see what I could put in the end of this blank space, about 17 inches right over here, and there was nothing on there. And that's one of the reasons I'm making this video, is because this is a creative way to use that space up. And I'll tell you, it works so well. I absolutely love it. So Ryobi makes a router tabletop that's Formica, has the measurement, has the T-tracks, and it was 99 bucks. And then I was like, I think I have one of those in a storage unit that I bought for a job years ago, and I went and sure enough, I found it. So I lopped off the ends, made some bracing across it. It came with this fence and this dust shroud, and figured out how to attach it and make it level, and boom, I had a combination table saw and router table, two essential tools to have in the shop. Now the router table and the table saw setup, they work in tandem. When I pull this extra line for the dust collection, I actually can get about 19 inches over to this side of the fence. Yeah, 19 inches. So if I'm making stuff smaller than that, drawer fronts, and I'm working in, anywhere closer to that way, I don't have to take this fence off. Now, if I take the fence off, I have 30.5 inches over to this side. That's as big as this saw. It's not a cabinet saw. So most cabinets, like kitchen cabinets, are 34.5 inches high. So I have made some kitchen cabinets before. I built the boxes, and then I built the toe kick 4.5 inches. And that way, there was a separate piece that the cabinet's actually set on top, and then I wrapped the underside of that toe kick. So taking this off is super simple though. I'll just loosen the bolts on each side with the little knobs. I'll set it down in its own little spot, which I built. Then I'll pull the router, I'll reduce the bit to 0, and then I'll slide the fence right over to that 30.5. Now the table saw is set up and ready to go and use over and over again. It really doesn't take me but a minute, under a minute, to set this thing up, from a router table table saw combo to just a router table. Wow, you can hear that suction. Oh my God. Listen to that. It's just hauling. Because it's hauling out of the back here and out of the bottom. So I've got a main trunk 4-inch port coming straight up into the bottom. Then inside of here on all 4 sides, I have a funnel, a V funnel that I made, that funnels all the chips that fall down into that 4-inch port. Now you can hear, that is a ton. This is a ton of suction coming out of there. So I'm really impressed with the dust collection on this. I've made hundreds of feet of moldings off of this router table, and my favorite part is the dust just zipping out underneath that shroud. It'll want to kick this way, and I thought about putting one of those baskets on the end here, but I really haven't had to need to do that. So one thing I did have to do, because this is so much heavier over here, I had to add this kickstand. I was pushing stuff towards the saw, and then the saw was tipping over. So I did have to add a kickstand here, and I don't really love that, but it is what it is. I could probably come up with something a little more clever, but that helps the saw not being able to tip over when I'm pushing down and in when I'm running stuff through the large table saw. So this little box is very cool. And you can see from the top here, I'm perfectly flush with my router table plate. And the fence, because it's on those 1/4-20 knob bolts, really can slide all the way forward, all the way back. I can do large stuff with the fence. In practical applications, I'm just going to do a quick little test carve, Santa's workshop, and I'm going to carve the outside edge only down about 1/4 of an inch. Using a bandsaw or jigsaw, I'll cut off the excess, but I'll leave a little heavy of my carve line. So here's something I use all the time. I've got this flush cut with this little collet on the top with a little bearing, and it's gonna ride right on this groove. See this groove? Now I carve down, I have a really nice clean carve here, but to save time and productivity, I only carve down about 1/4 of an inch, and then I come over here and zip this off for little signs or for cutting boards or for whatever I do. It just saves time on the X carve. That way I don't have to carve all the way down through. I can just carve to this, zip it off with a jigsaw or the bandsaw, run it around this, and I get a super clean, super beautiful edge on it. So you can see that overhang lip. So I'll just flip the dust collection to this guy, flip them on. If you like fun and creative videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Do it, and do it now. Plus, leave me a comment, guys. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll totally comment back. How satisfying is it watching all of that dust get sucked right up into the dust collection? I don't know why I geek out on that, but I absolutely love it. Now I've got a nice clean edge. This is why this is one of my favorite tools to use. It's so satisfying. The amount of dust that this guy's getting is just insane. There's there's a little tiny bit of dust there, but boy, that downdraft dust, these back dust, this thing for $100 for this table, then to modify it into this actual table saw is freaking genius. It also, it also has all my gauges and my marks, my inches. This is for a miter fence. So yeah, that is one of my favorites. On the other side of the table saw, I have my large trash can. It hides back here. That way when I cut stuff off of the saw, I can easily throw it over here. But here's how my dust collection system works here. If I want to run this router table, I have this gate. And if I want to run the table saw, I have that gate. So whichever one I'm using, I open it up. And I'm not really using both of them at the same time ever. So that's for the table saw. That's for the router table saw. These are the controls that came with it. All my power supply up here with the controls, the power for the table saw. Again, I don't use those. I use those not at the same time. And then this is my little stand to hold my fence when I don't need it. So it's all contained right in there. And now this cabinet is actually the outfeed table for the table saw. So when I'm running longer stuff, it holds the stuff up so it doesn't fall off the end of it. It's really, really helpful. There's 2 of these cabinets, so when I'm running larger stuff, it just runs out. And this is just a hair lower, just a hair, probably about about a 1/16 lower, so that when I'm running through, I never run into it. So that's my outfeed table for my table saw. Now this chair on the end, that's where my wife sits when she comes out and talks to me. I also use that to stack wood. I had some wheels on it at one point, but it was too squirrely, so I kind of use that as a little table as well when I'm doing multiple cuts and stacking stuff up. That is my table saw setup and how much I love it. Adding the router table to the end of it is the only way to go. It's always set up, and I use the Sam Hill heck out of it. This is an extremely useful setup with the table saw, the router table, the rolling outfield table. It keeps you safe. If you have any questions about where to get some of this stuff, how I attach it to the bottom, how I built the box for the dust collection, let me know in the comment below. Plus, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Do it and do it now. And to all the people that are subscribed, thank you guys. I make these videos because they're fun and I want to share them with you because I was looking for stuff like this when I was building my shop. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm Stoner Ericson from Ericson Design Company, and we built something. Ta-da!